America's royal families. The Vanderbilts. Thank you to Hungry Minds for sponsoring this video. During the Gilded Age, the Vanderbilts were the richest family in America. They owned a transportation empire and glamorous mansions on Fifth Avenue and in Newport and North Carolina, where they hosted lavish parties. From their ferry captain founder through the generations who frittered away the fortune to the modern descendants you can still see on your TV every night. Let's meet the Vanderbilts. In 1650, Jan Artzoon left his family farm in the village of De Bilt, the Netherlands, and sailed for the Dutch colony of New Amsterdam. To fund his passage, he became an indentured servant and paid his debt in sweat. In 1674, the English took over the colony and rechristened it New York. Jan's family was also renamed Vanderbilt, an English corruption of the Dutch van, meaning from, and De Bilt, their hometown. In 1795, Jan's great-great-great-grandson, Cornelius, was born in a modest home on Staten Island. He was the fourth of 9 children and left school at 11 to help his father operate a ferry. At 16, he borrowed $100 from his mother to purchase his own ferry, the Swift Shore. Other captains took note of the young man's energy and called him the Commodore. At 19, he married his first cousin, Sophia Johnson. In a boarding house on Broad Street, they had 13 children, 9 daughters and 4 sons, one of whom died at 4. In 1817, entrepreneur Thomas Gibbon hired him to captain his steamboat between New Jersey and New York. Cornelius got involved in his boss's crusade to break up the Ogden family's stranglehold on New York Harbor. Cornelius hired lawyer Daniel Webster, who successfully argued their case before the U.S. Supreme Court. Gibbon versus Ogden was a landmark anti-monopoly ruling. Its protection of commercial competition is a basis for the prosperity of the U.S. economy. Daniel Webster was so famed for his oration that in 1936, Stephen Vincent Benet wrote a short story, The Devil and Daniel Webster, about the lawyer winning back a man's soul from Satan. When Gibbon died, his son sold Cornelius the business. With a free ferry market secured, Cornelius built up his own shipping monopoly. He added new routes, often by undercutting the competition, until they were forced to fold. Then he raised his own prices. Next, he set his sights on railroads. He orchestrated a hostile takeover of the train lines connecting New York and Boston. Now a wealthy man, Cornelius built a showpiece Gothic mansion on his parents' property on Staten Island. Sophia thrived there, but just 7 years later, her husband informed her that they would be moving again, this time to ensconce themselves among the robber barons of Manhattan. He built a brownstone mansion at 10 Washington Place. Sophia was furious and refused to move, so Cornelius committed her to an asylum. When her daughter warned her that her husband was having an affair with the governess, Sophia finally agreed to move to Manhattan. In 1849, the California gold rush created a huge demand for pioneers going west and gold coming east. Cornelius opened shipping lines down to Central America and then back up to California. The Isthmus of Panama separated the two oceans, and goods and passengers had to traverse the treacherous jungle on mules. Cornelius proposed a canal across Nicaragua, but he was unable to get funding. In 1855, the competition sparked a Central American trade war. Vanderbilt came out on top with the monopoly. The Panama Canal did not join the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans until 1914, long after his death. The Commodore got far more joy from making money than spending it. He lived a Spartan lifestyle. In addition to being cruel to his wife, he called his eldest son Billy a blockhead and beat his second son, Cornell, who had epilepsy and was gay. To toughen him up, he impressed his 18-year-old son as a sailor on a ship bound for California. In San Francisco, Cornell became ill and booked passage home. There, his father had him arrested and thrown into an asylum, from which he was later released. Youngest son, George Washington, was his father's favorite and tapped as heir. He graduated from the military academy and joined the Union Army during the Civil War, but he died of illness at 24 without seeing combat. The Commodore donated his largest steamship, the Vanderbilt, to the Union Navy. By the end of the war, he had liquidated all of his shipping interests and focused on the future, the New York Central Railroad Company. He took over Manhattan's only train, the Harlem Line, which was considered worthless. Having railroad tracks run down 4th Avenue was a loud, smelly, and deadly nuisance. So Cornelius hired genius engineers to run the tracks underground, allowing the newly christened Park Avenue to flourish above. He built Grand Central Depot on 42nd Street in 1871. Sophia died after 55 years of marriage. A year later, Cornelius, now 75, married his 30-year-old cousin, Frank Crawford, who was younger than all his children. She was an unrepentant Confederate and a zealous Methodist. She persuaded her husband to donate $1 million, the largest charitable gift in American history, to found Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. While the old money collected art, the most valuable piece at 10 Washington Place was an 8-foot bronze statue of the Commodore himself, which now stands in front of Grand Central Terminal. After years of chronic illness, Cornelius died at 82. He was buried in the Vanderbilt Mausoleum on Staten Island. He was the richest man in America, with an estimated wealth of $105 million, $3 billion today. His will gave 95% to his eldest son, Billy, and his other children sued. Billy had brought in a spiritualist who, during a seance, informed the aging tycoon that the ghost of his wife Sophia wanted him to give all his money to Billy. Not wanting to further blacken his name, Billy handed over a bit more money to his siblings. His brother Cornell died by suicide at 51. Frank had signed an ironclad prenup. She received $500,000 and was allowed to live in her husband's mansion for the rest of her life. She only outlived him by 8 years. Billy made it his life's mission to prove to his father that he was not a blockhead. Together they built railroads crisscrossing the East Coast and stretching into Canada and the Midwest. After his father's death, Billy doubled the fortune in 8 years. When asked by a journalist if he ran a particular route for profit or for the benefit of the public, he responded, "The public be damned." Billy convinced Ulysses S. Grant to invest in what turned out to be a Ponzi scheme. When the former president lost his shirt, he handed all his Civil War memorabilia, including his sword, over to Billy to cover his debt. To further advertise his worth, Billy constructed the famed Triple Palace on 5th Avenue. It housed his massive art collection and 2 separate residences for his daughters, Emily and Margaret. The 58-room brownstone was panned as over the top, but it was the scene of many elegant Gilded Age balls. Billy set his 4 sons up as chairmen of his various companies, but he hired experienced men to run the enterprise. At 64, he suffered a stroke and joined his father in the mausoleum. He and his wife, Maria Louisa Kissam, a daughter of a reverend, had 9 children. Alan William died at 11 months. The rest made up the generation at the apex of the Vanderbilts' wealth. Cornelius Vanderbilt II impressed his grandfather with his work ethic while clerking at a bank. He married Sunday school teacher Alice Claypole. She hailed from an old Newport, Rhode Island family. She oversaw the construction of several family mansions, including a luxurious chateau on 5th Avenue and a charming little seaside cottage in her hometown. The Breakers is a 70-room, 5-story mega mansion filled with priceless art, rare wood, marble, and mosaics from around the world. It was the largest estate in the Gilded Age seaside paradise. In 1883, Alice's sister-in-law, Alva, threw the social event of the season, a housewarming party on her new 5th Avenue chateau. All the ladies wore incredible costumes, but Alice shined the brightest. Literally, in a yellow satin gown embroidered with crystal lightning bolts and complete with a hidden battery pack to power a real light bulb, invented only 4 years earlier, which she held aloft like the Statue of Liberty. As the eldest son, Cornelius took the helm of the family empire, which he ran ably until dying of a stroke at 55 and passing the business to his next brother. Alice lived another 35 years as the matriarch of the Vanderbilts. Her first 2 children, Alice and William, died young of typhoid fever. While studying engineering at Yale, Cornelius Neely III fell in love with Grace Graham Wilson. His father did not approve, so the couple eloped and were cut out of the will. He did get $500,000 and put his engineering to good use, patenting numerous inventions to improve train travel and helping to found the Interborough Rapid Transit Company, New York's first subway. He and Grace loved yachting through Europe and became friends with the future King Edward VII, Kaiser Wilhelm II, and many other royals. When World War I broke out, Neely, who had served 17 years in the National Guard, was promoted to brigadier general and served in France. He inherited the Triple Palace from his uncle George and modernized it. In 1942, while lounging on his yacht in Miami Beach, Neely died of a stroke. The family sold the now dilapidated Triple Palace, and it was torn down to make way for a high-rise. Cornelius Neil Vanderbilt IV was determined to make his own way in the world. At 19, he went against his parents and joined the army. Without his father's help, he served in a number of menial positions during World War I, but often complained and used his name to get reassigned. He married socialite Rachel Littleton in a lavish ceremony. This gained his parents' approval, which he immediately lost by becoming a journalist. The upper class saw the media as lowly invaders of their privacy. Disinherited, Neil struggled to maintain his lifestyle. He founded tabloids, but was eaten alive by William Randolph Hearst and forced to close $6 million in the hole. He also lost Rachel and moved to Reno, Nevada, the divorce capital of the world, where he could dissolve their union with minimal red tape. He wrote a comic novel about the town and was hired by Columbia Pictures to turn it into a movie. Neil spent a lot of time in Reno, as he was married 7 times. As he got older, his brides remained in their 20s. In 1934, he traveled to Germany and made a covert film, Hitler's Reign of Terror. It was panned by American audiences who did not believe that the dictator posed a threat. When, surprise, surprise, World War II broke out, Neil served as an intelligence officer. He published several books, including an autobiography, Farewell to Fifth Avenue, which questioned why members of the upper crust were considered more worthy than the rest of society. Neil died in Reno in 1974, age 76. Though he had rejected his family, they took him in at the family mausoleum. Gertrude attended the Brearley School for Women and showed an aptitude for art. Her letters with childhood friend Esther hinted at a passionate relationship, but her mother kept them apart, and at 21, she married oil heir Harry Whitney. He was not supportive of her ambitions to become a sculptor, but she trained extensively and took commissions under an alias, gaining recognition for her talent. Gertrude did put her wealth to use promoting other female artists. Her Greenwich Village studio became a center of the art scene. During World War I, she moved to France and operated a hospital for wounded soldiers. After the war, she earned numerous commissions for monuments, including the Titanic Monument in Washington, D.C. In 1929, she offered the Metropolitan Museum of Art her collection of 700 works. They did not display American artists and turned her down, so she founded the Whitney Museum of American Art. Gertrude died in 1942, age 67. Her daughter Flora was engaged to Quentin Roosevelt, youngest son of former President Theodore Roosevelt, but his plane was shot down in World War I. Instead, she married his flight school buddy, Roderick Tower. They had 2 children, but his drinking and cheating broke up their marriage. She moved on to a long and happy union and 2 more children with architect George Miller III. Flora helped her mother found the Whitney Museum and ran it after her death. She died in 1986, age 88. Her own daughter, Flora, oversees the museum today. The Vanderbilts and other pioneers of the Gilded Age made their fortune by harnessing the incredible new technology being produced by humanity. Have you ever wondered how the inventions we now take for granted actually work? Then I have the perfect book for you. The Book, The Ultimate Guide to Rebuilding Civilization. Discover over 400 pages of humanity's most amazing accumulated knowledge and inventions. I was particularly captivated by this explanation of childbirth, reproducing penicillin, edible and inedible plants, and of course, the tea-making process. I would be hard-pressed to live in a civilization without tea. And now I don't have to. The captivating, clarifying, and often humorous illustrations and text are sure to delight and enlighten. And of course, humanity's knowledge couldn't fit in a paperback. This impressively bound book, with high-quality matte paper and illuminated cover, makes a gorgeous keepsake, or an impressive gift for your children, friends, family, or anyone with a curious mind, eager to delve into the wonders of human innovation. Utilize the QR code or click the link in the description, and use promo code Lindsay10 to get your copy of The Book, The Ultimate Guide to Rebuilding Civilization. Cornelius Vanderbilt Whitney inherited his father's fortune and his love of polo and thoroughbred horses. He made a fortune in zinc mining and financed several Hollywood films, including Gone with the Wind. He married 4 times and fathered at least 8 children. A Ziegfeld Follies dancer sued him for paternity. He founded Marineland in Florida, a precursor to SeaWorld. He died in 1992, age 93. Alfred Freddie Gwynn was a dashing playboy and a skull and crossbones at Yale. While he and his friends were on a 2-year world tour, he learned of his father's death and raced home. He received the lion's share of the fortune, but his siblings were not totally shut out. He tore down his family's home on Park Avenue and built the Vanderbilt Hotel. Freddie married Ellen French, and they had 1 child, William Henry Vanderbilt III, later governor of Rhode Island. Ellen publicly accused him of adultery, and the scandal drove his mistress, Agnes Ruiz, to take her own life. Freddie remarried to Margaret Emerson, and they had 2 sons. In 1915, he headed to Europe for a business trip aboard the RMS Lusitania. German U-boats had warned that they would target civilian vessels known to be carrying munitions to the UK. The Lusitania was torpedoed off the coast of Ireland and sank in 18 minutes. Multiple witnesses saw the famous Freddie Vanderbilt helping others into lifeboats, then tying his own life jacket around a passenger and her baby. Alfred couldn't swim. He was among the 1,199 passengers who perished. His body was never recovered. He was 37. Alfred Jr. was awarded the Silver Star in World War II. He had a celebrated career in thoroughbred racing, married 3 times, and fathered 6 children. He died in 1999 at 87, doing what he loved, racing horses. His eldest son, Alfred Gwynn III, had a successful career in public relations. His eldest son, James Vanderbilt, is a Hollywood writer and producer, with dozens of credits, including Zodiac, The Amazing Spider-Man, Independence Day Resurgence, and Scream. George Washington Vanderbilt III led scientific expeditions to Panama, Africa, and the South Pacific. He married 4 times and had 1 child. At 46, he ended his own life by leaping from his hotel suite in San Francisco. Reginald Claypool wed socialite Kathleen Nielsen, and they had 1 daughter, Kathleen, before divorcing. At 43, he married 19-year-old Gloria Mercedes Morgan, and they had a daughter. 2 years later, Reginald died of cirrhosis due to alcoholism and left $5 million to his 2 daughters. Gloria Morgan had control of her baby daughter's trust fund. She used it to traverse Europe and hobnob with aristocrats. Her identical twin sister, Thelma, was the future King Edward VIII's mistress. Little Gloria's aunt, Gertrude Vanderbilt Whitney, disapproved of her mother's flapper lifestyle and reckless spending. She sued for custody of her niece and control over her fortune. The trial was a sensation and depicted Gloria's mother as an unfit parent, including allegations of a lesbian affair with the Marchioness of Milford Haven. The little girl at the center of the whirlwind gave tearful testimonies. Gertrude won the case and raised little Gloria with her own children at her Long Island mansion. When she turned 18, she cut her mother off, but they eventually reconciled. Gloria tried her hand at acting, modeling, and writing. She was a painter and launched a fashion line focused around tight jeans, which were all the rage in the 1970s. She married 4 times and had relationships with Marlon Brando, Frank Sinatra, Howard Hughes, and Roald Dahl. It is rumored that Holly Golightly from Breakfast at Tiffany's was modeled on Gloria. She had 4 sons. Carter ended his own life at 23 by jumping out of the family's 14th floor apartment. Anderson Cooper is a broadcast journalist known for his on-the-ground reporting. He has anchored his own show on CNN since 2001. He appeared with his mother in a documentary and wrote a book about his illustrious family. Youngest daughter Gladys married Hungarian Count Laszlo Széchenyi in a sensational wedding. With their 4 daughters, they visited his palace in Budapest every summer and converted it into a hospital during World War I. Gladys loved the breakers, while her siblings were more interested in their own modern mansions, so her mother left the estate to her. She struggled to maintain it and leased it to the Preservation Society of Newport for $1 a year, though she lived in an apartment on the top floor until her death in 1965, age 78. The Breakers is now a museum. Margaret Louisa married banker Elliot Shepard and had 6 children. She was a major supporter of the YWCA. She booked passage on the RMS Titanic, but changed her ticket to the Olympic at the last minute. William Kissam Vanderbilt took over the family business after his older brother's death. He also got $55 million, almost $2 billion today. He wed Southern debutante Alva Smith. She would not stand for Caroline Astor and her old money 400 to look down on her. She put the Queen of Society in her place by not inviting her to her 1883 housewarming ball. Alva took center stage in her magnificent Venetian noblewoman costume, but she was outshone by her electrified sister-in-law Alice. William and Alva divorced after 20 years amid scandalous adultery. Scorned Alva made off with $10 million and became a prominent suffragette. William moved to Paris and married widowed Anne Harriman. He died in 1920, age 70. Consuelo Vanderbilt was 18 when her mother pushed her, weeping, down the aisle with Charles Spencer Churchill, the 9th Duke of Marlborough. He took her back to England and used her $2.5 million to renovate dilapidated Blenheim Palace. They were in ill fit and both had affairs. Their younger son Ivar bore a strong resemblance to Consuelo's old boyfriend. The marriage was annulled after 27 years. Consuelo then married aviator Lieutenant Colonel Jacques Belsan and spent 35 happy years at his French chateau. She built a hospital and died at 87. You can learn more about Consuelo in my Dollar Princesses episode. The dukedom and an estate which is currently worth £188 million passed to John, then John. The current holder is James Spencer Churchill, who had a youthful reputation for partying and drug use. His father won a court case to ensure that he never got his hands on Blenheim Palace. In 2009, James appeared in a BBC documentary in which wealthy people would sleep outside and experience homelessness. The Duke demanded to be put up in a 5-star hotel, and when he was handed a sleeping bag, he left the program. His eldest son, George, is a model and polo player who participates in long-distance rowing races for charity. William Kissam Vanderbilt II liked racing yachts and cars, so he built one of the nation's first paved parkways, which had the side effect of opening up Long Island to development. He was president of the New York Central Railroad during World War I, while he and his bride, Virginia Graham Fair, were honeymooning at one of the family's many estates. Idle hour, the mansion burned down. They had 3 children. Their only son, William Kissam III, inherited his father's love of racing. He died in a car accident at 26. After William II's death in 1944, his younger brother Harold was the only Vanderbilt left at the New York Central Railroad. He had no children. Emily Thorne Vanderbilt married carpet heir William Douglas Sloane. They built Elm Court, a mammoth cottage in Lenox, Massachusetts, with very nice carpets. They had 5 children. Emily founded the Sloane Maternity Hospital in New York. William died after 43 years of marriage, and Emily remarried to Henry White, ambassador to France and Italy. She lived to 94. Her great-great-grandson is actor Timothy Olyphant. He has appeared in Scream 2, Gone in 60 Seconds, The Girl Next Door, Deadwood, Live Free or Die Hard, Justified, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Santa Clarita Diet, and many other films and TV shows. Emily's grandson, John Hammond, was a record producer, talent scout, and a massive influence on 20th century popular music. He discovered or furthered the careers of Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen, Benny Goodman, Billie Holiday, Count Basie, Teddy Wilson, Big Joe Turner, Aretha Franklin, George Benson, Leonard Cohen, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and many more. He was also a civil rights activist. His son, John P. Hammond, is an acclaimed blues musician. In the 60s, he had both Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix in his band. In 2011, he was inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame. Florence Vanderbilt was known for her lavish mansions, fleet of maroon Rolls-Royces, army of servants, and hatred of the media. When Mrs. Twombly hosted a party, she would glide around the drawing room, and once she had spoken to each guest, she would tell her butler, "It is time," and everyone would be promptly shown the door. Frederick William inherited only $2 million. He was a director of the New York Central Railroad for 61 years. He had a happy and childless marriage with Louise Anthony. When Frederick died in 1938, age 82, he was worth $80 million, $1.5 billion today, much of which he left to charity. Eliza Osgood married William Seward Webb, and they had 4 children. She was a renowned social hostess. In 1909, President William Howard Taft visited her ornamental farm, Shelburne in Vermont. Youngest son, George Washington II Vanderbilt, was his father's favorite. While his older brothers ran the family business, George collected 20,000 books, traveled, and became fluent in several languages. After loafing around his relatives' mansions, the 26-year-old decided to build his own starter home. He purchased 125,000 acres of woodland outside of Asheville, North Carolina. He hired architect Richard Morris Hunt to design a limestone chateau based on those of the Loire Valley in France. He named it the Biltmore, after his ancestors' Dutch home and the Anglo-Saxon word moor, meaning rolling hills. With 4 acres of floor space, the mega mansion is the largest home ever constructed in the United States. George oversaw experiments in farming, animal breeding, and forestry. He built a village and cathedral for his employees and threw annual Christmas parties for their children. George wed Edith Stuyvesant Dresser, and they had 1 daughter, Cornelia. He died of complications following an appendectomy at 51. After all the money he spent on the Biltmore, he left a cool $5 million to Cornelia. She attended the University of North Carolina, then married British aristocrat, the Honorable John Francis Amherst Cecil, and they had 2 sons. Cornelia grew bored of life at the Biltmore, so she left her family, moved to Paris, and dyed her hair bright pink. She never returned to the United States. After World War II, she married Captain Vivian Bulkley Johnson. They remained married until his death in 1968. While at a fashionable London restaurant, the 72-year-old heiress fell in love with her waiter, Bill Goodsir, and married him. Cornelia died in 1976, age 75. Her two sons, George and William, inherited the Biltmore. Their descendants still operate it as a profitable tourist attraction. So what happened to the Vanderbilt fortune? Leadership of the New York Central Railroad transferred from Cornelius to Billy to Cornelius II, to his brother William, then to his sons William II and Harold. As they had no surviving sons, the company ran out of male Vanderbilt heirs. In 1954, tycoon Robert R. Young staged a hostile takeover. Without an enterprise to infuse capital back into the family, the Vanderbilt fortune was eaten away by estate taxes and the extravagant spending of successive generations. While some Vanderbilts have held on to a fraction of their generational wealth, or made money through other means, the greatest family fortune of the Gilded Age is long gone. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, comment your thoughts, and check out my other history videos. You can also join my Patreon to support my work and get early access to all of my multi-part series. Thank you for watching.